Hold on. There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Hello, Carol and Link. Hi.
Hello,
I'm
Sydney.
I'm Sydney, as you see my name, and I'm eager to talk to you. I'm a big fan of yours.
Thank you.
I know that you were the second woman to get the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film in 2001 for Nowhere in Africa.
I think it was in 2003 because it took a while to travel for the movie to travel, but we shot the movie in Kenya in 2001. Yes.
Well, I remember distinctly sitting in the theater and watching it and I was carried away by it. I absolutely loved it. To
Thank
continue
you.
just a little bit on, you're the second woman because Nadine Gorris won it for her film in 1995 called Antonia's Line.
Yes.
So also, as I was reading your bio, you weren't able to accept the Academy Award because your daughter was ill.
Right. Right. Yes. She was a few days earlier. She was a baby then. She was 8 months old. And some people always congratulated me or thought it is very beautiful to have a child and an Oscar in 1 year. But to tell you the truth, it is not so wonderful because it's a little bit too much at the same time. And also, Pauline had been very sick in her stomach. I don't know the English word for that, but she had a knot in her stomach, in a way, and so she had to go to the hospital with 8 months, and I didn't want to leave her alone, even though her daddy was there. But there was no way for me that I could travel to Los Angeles.
No, such a loss, such a loss. In this movie, when Hitler stole Red Rabbit, the Pink Rabbit, sorry, when Hitler stole Pink Rabbit, the daughter also gets ill. And I just was curious about how you like to tell stories through children's eyes. In this story, did she get ill in the novel that it was adapted from, or did you add the illness scene?
No, it was written like that from Judith Kerr, and that was what really happened to her, that she was very sick when she traveled in the train, that she felt she was getting very sick, and that her mother and her parents, both parents, were very, very worried about her. In reality, when they were in Switzerland, they spent a lot of their money they were able to take from Germany in that luxury hotel because they wanted her to be in a clean bed in a nice hotel. And after that, they when they had to leave Switzerland and all that, they missed that money. But they were really very worried about her. So yeah, that was how she remembered the start of the journey, as being in a fever dream, and that she was so glad to see daddy again in Switzerland, but at the same time she was almost unconscious in her fever dreams, and that was described very full of details in the novel as well.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. So I understand you like to tell stories through the eyes of children. And I found a similarity, obviously, about a Jewish family fleeing in nowhere in Africa. And here they're fleeing again. It's a totally different family. But I wonder about your take on why you like to make stories through the eyes of children. And what about the similarity of these two movies? What was I know that's not why you did the second movie, but could you talk a little about?
Yeah, I mean it was one reason why at first I was very hesitant to do it, because I had the feeling I might repeat myself, and I it's again a little girl 9 years old who has an extremely intense relationship to her father more than to her mother. It is a bond between father and daughter that always attracts me, because maybe I have some similar family dynamics in my own family. And and I thought, okay, maybe I did that again. But then, I thought the book from Judith Kerr was so unique in a way that it is so dramatical, you know. It is not it's not a big drama. It's everything that is strong about the book, and I remember it being strong when I read it as a little girl, was that the conflict is very internal. You know, there is no threat from the outside. There are no Nazis banging at the door. There is no immediate danger, and still the story never really left me. I read it when I was, I think, 10 or 11 years old in school, and it moved me so much. And when I had the offer from a producer who had the idea to make a movie out of the book, I read it again and I thought, what was it that moved me so much at that time? Because there is nothing really happening. and I thought that is the quality of the book, because I think always the details are what make books or movies not only good but very good. When the details are strong, then you remember a piece of art, because I think intensity comes through details, and the details in Judith Kerr's book are very unique and very special, and there are some beautiful quotations for the children, and beautiful lines, and also wonderful scenes, like, for example, very unusual scenes to describe how strange it feels to be in different countries, like in Switzerland, when the children throw the stones at her as a sign, as an expression of their love to her. That is so unusual. When I read it, I thought, wow, this is so unique and so special, and describes so much how lost you feel sometimes in different cultures, that I thought it has a huge quality, this book. And I like to talk about that story one more time, even though I didn't really want to make another Nazi story.
When you read the book as a child, did you identify with it? And now you've made 2 films about these Jewish. When I was a child, I used to identify, being Jewish, with what if I were in Germany, or what would have happened to me? But all I could identify with was Anne Frank, because that was all I had read, and I had no imagination about what it was really like, because I was not near it. When you read the book as a child, do you remember how it struck you?
Yeah, I remember one huge fear that I always had, and still I don't have it now because I'm a grown-up rational person now, but one huge fear would always be, what if something really unjust happens to you and there is no place you can go to, no judge, no police station, no institution where you can come and say that has been done to me, and people say, oh no, I help you, of course that's unjust, we fix it. You know, if you lose the belief that the, how do you say in English, the institutions are for law and order and for the right, you know, if you don't have that anymore, if things happen to you and you can, there's no place you can turn to for help, that is so frightening. I think if you are lost and people say, well, that happened to you, too bad, you know, I don't care. That is, and I remember that really frightened me as a little girl. And I, of course, I always, I mean, that was not so terribly far away in my childhood, in the 60s, 70s, you know. I wondered, and I talked with my family about it, my grandparents, but that happened to the people, that happened to the families. What did you do about it? Why didn't you do anything about it? And that was what Judith Kerr, I think, intended, to write a book for younger people, younger children, that they can start a dialogue with the older generations about that time. That is not so frightening, the book, that it is impossible to read for young kids, but that it opens a discussion about the period.
Yes, I think that this is what makes this film so classic. It's a film that children can watch and understand and not be frightened by. But the points that you make, I got chills listening to you, the points you make are very apt for today. So many children are facing this. So the ones who are lucky enough to be reading or watching a movie about it are blessed to have this movie to see and bring up those same questions that you had to answer. This movie does it. Really important. Yeah.
I mean, we have a lot of good and bad Nazi stories in German television, in German cinemas, in German literature, and sometimes there has been too much information about it, almost to still make a story emotionally feelable still, you know. So you always have to find, if you want to do something that really moves and touches people and makes them think, you have to do something that has a new approach, because we all have seen in Germany too many movies where actors in brown uniforms with swastika on their arms bang on doors, and Jews have, you know, been insulted and pushed on the street, and that is horrible to see, of course. But to make people really want to watch a movie and want to see what's happening, you have to find a new approach. With Noah in Africa, the new approach is that the whole story was told completely from the outside, from a completely foreign place, Kenya. Yeah, that that the family is somewhere in the middle of nowhere and watches from there what happens in Germany. And in this story here, I thought the child's perspective is so so strong, and also Judith Kerr's incredible approach to tell that story in an optimistic way. And I thought I would never dare to do that because I am not Jewish. But when I talked to her on the telephone, she would say things like, "That was the most beautiful time in my life." And I always thought, Judith, you cannot say that. This is the persecution of the Jewish people. How can you say that? And she said, well, it is the way life is. For me and my brother, that was a time of being close to the family, being very on little, how do you say, on little ground, you know, in small places, small apartments, under poor circumstances, but we were together, we were there for each other, and I never were this close to my mother and my father anymore for the rest of my life. I mean, this was an intense time. And what she learned from that time was that nothing can happen as long as we stay together. That was her mantra, how much family means, and that you have to stay together, you know.
Yeah, well, it's
For her as a
interesting
little girl, you know. Yeah.
how you made it at the beginning. The mother was always out and the daughter was upset because the mother was always out, and here they are together, and the mother does adjust, and the girl keeps saying, it's an adventure, we're going on an adventure, and creativity comes out of difficulty. So
because that's what Alfred Kerr managed to teach his children. I think Alfred Kerr is very famous in Germany as a literature critic and a theater critic, and he was a very how do you say in English, he wasn't liked by everybody. He was very tough with his critics, with his words. He was very he loved to argue, but with his children, he was obviously a very understanding and sensitive father, because he managed to show them the positive sides. Like when he says one time, maybe we don't have this one place anymore where we are at home, but we have our home in different countries, on different places, and that might be good for something too. And that's
Right.
hard to accept for a little girl, but I think he always tried to point out the optimistic, the good, the positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it did come through the whole time. It was like an adventure, but we knew as the audience, it wasn't exactly a fun adventure, but for the daughter, she seemed to manage. A bit about that daughter, she was so beautiful. Sometimes to me, the mother looked so young, almost too young to be a mother. And the child looked so grown up. I mean, she was so stunningly beautiful. When I was reading, I noticed she had gone to the same school as the writer, and her mother had also. So it was just really interesting about the child. Can you talk about what it was like working with her?
Yeah, the story, the book had a big meaning already to Riva when she came to the casting studio for her first casting. And the first thing she told me, you know what? I went to the same school like you did, Care. And then she read the book already, which was quite unusual. She was 8, I think, when she came to the first casting. And most of the time, children with about 10, 11 maybe read the book. And she knew a lot about Judith Kerr, and she told me that she is Jewish herself, and so the whole story had a bigger meaning, I think, to her than to other children that came to that casting one day. And I realized, even though the parents did not talk so much with their children about the Holocaust yet, but it has always been in their DNA. It was always an awareness for the dark, dark history of our country, and that history or how do you say in English, is a part of her own family. She knows about the sadness of the grandparents and the great grandparents, and it was something Riva always understood. She's a very funny girl. She likes to fool around, but there's also always a deep understanding for the history of the Jewish people. So you could tell in the way she played the scenes, I think, that there is a deeper understanding, even in the funny scenes, even in the light scenes. There is always also an understanding. We try to make the best of it, but underneath is darkness, a black, black, deep darkness. And she could really understand, I think.
Wow, that's an amazing story. Oh, I thank you for talking about that. I'm stunned. I had no idea about her own background. And had she always wanted to be an actress?
Well, I'm always hesitant with calling that acting. I mean, that is an actress. She would love to be an actress, of course, but she's a little girl, and she likes other things as well. And she made a few other she played little parts. And I always try to tell the children I work with, don't take it too serious. Don't how do you say, don't make yourself dependent on the judgment from outside. You change. Now you're a girl, then you're a teenager, then you don't know how life works and what you want to do in 10 years. So maybe she becomes an actress, maybe not. She's interested in many things, and she's a wonderful young lady now, and she loves dancing at the moment a lot. And so I don't know if she really becomes an actress or whether, everything is possible for Riva, I think.
Right. And you stay in touch with her, huh?
Yes.
Good.
We were invited, my daughter and I, we were invited for Rosh Hashanah with them, and we wanted to celebrate her bar mitzvah together, but unfortunately, due to Corona, that wasn't possible. They weren't allowed to make a big party, of course. So, yeah, but we're still in touch. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful family. They live in Berlin, and they have 3 children, and yeah, it's great to be in touch with them.
That's amazing. I wish I had more time. She's telling me I have less than 5 minutes left, and I feel like I'm just beginning to talk to you about this. But
I think interesting, very interesting character in the whole that interested me a lot when I started to think about the movie and the story and that book is Alfred Kerr. He's a very interesting character, the father of Judith Kerr. And he was very famous in Germany, and he's a very intelligent man. And I added some of his letters and some of his texts that he wrote about being in exile and what it means to be in exile in the movie script, even though it's not in the children's book from Judith Kerr, because I thought he is the one who gives a little bit more depth to the intellectual challenges that he had as a man of language and words, who wasn't able to work in other countries in other languages anymore. And I thought I would love to make another movie about him. He's a very interesting character. Yeah.
I'd love to see a movie about him. I know his name and I didn't even know why, but I would love to see a movie about him. And he was so gorgeous, that sculpted face, which was sharp looking, but he was so gentle and good with his children. I'd love to see more. I'd love to see that movie.
Yeah. He's shooting in America right now, Oliver Masucci. He's a very successful actor. He's doing I don't know how's that in English. The fabulous world of animals, the Harry Potter thing. He's shooting with some stars, you know. And he's very good. And he in Germany he plays the bad guys always, and that's why I wanted him to be the father, because I wanted him to be a surprising. He's a sharp intellectual, but he's a very, very warm and loving daddy. So I thought that is a surprising cast to take him as a father.
Really good. Yes. And I love daughters and fathers. There's something special about that.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Thank you very much, Sydney.
Thank you. Thank you, Caroline, and good luck with the release in US.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Bye, Sydney.
Bye. Goodbye, Caroline.
Hi, Caroline. It's Sophie Gluck.
Hello, Sophie.
Hi, I work with Amy. How are you? I don't know if you could see me. It's really dark. I don't have the best lighting. It's really nice to see you in person.
Yes, I can see you too. I can see you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Nice.
So we're going to just